Morning, everyone. It is a beautiful, sunny, mild day here in Hilton, KZN, and this is the first time I've ever done a YouTube video, but kind of just wanted to share my story a little bit and really just give encouragement to anyone who's going through chronic pain or has any chronic symptoms, or who has developed any sort of syndrome. Anyways, I'm sure I'll be making a few more of these, but yeah, just wanted to basically start and give an overview of what I've been through. So basically, this all started in February last year, which would be 2024. And basically, I've been going through a hell of a time with my health. But I just wanted to share my story. And it kind of all starts with the death of our little girl. So unfortunately, on the 13th of Feb 2024, we lost our baby girl at 36 weeks. So that was obviously very traumatic and it sucked a lot. But I'll just do like a timeline. So obviously that was a very tough time, and was just very sad and whatever. But I was kind of like holding things together, and I felt like we were working through it quite nicely. Work obviously was very busy. There was a lot of pressure. It hasn't been things have been challenging since COVID. Like the whole economic landscape, I feel like, has been turned on its head. So we've had to sort of pivot and think about doing business in new ways, etc. But basically everything was kind of fine until about, I'd say, July of 2024. And we were visiting my parents down the south coast, and just having a good time. And I was chilling in the room reading a book, and I noticed some weird visual disturbances. So the best way I can describe it is if you look into a light bulb, you have this sort of shape of the light within your eyes that remains for a few seconds, and then normally it dissipates. So when I'd be looking at the white wall, and there'd be this like a little squiggle or a little shape in my vision that I couldn't get rid of. So I thought, that's really weird. And my ears started ringing as well. So I was like, okay, that's fine. This is obviously some sort of virus or flu, whatever. So I thought, let me just go to bed. I'll sleep it off. I'm sure I'll be fine in the morning. Obviously, I woke up the next morning and it was still there. So very weird, very anxiety inducing. So obviously hopped onto Google and started looking what the heck is this thing. I've got and then I also started developing these little speckles within my vision. So that's I'm still dealing with that, but obviously it's much better. But let's catalog that for now. So there was that set of symptoms, and then I kind of was living with that, irritating but not debilitating. And then after that, I caught COVID. So lost my sense of taste and smell, which was just so depressing. And that's sort of only started to come back now. But that was the second major thing that happened to me. So yeah, caught COVID, and was kind of, it knocked me for like, I'd say 3 to 5 days. We were just camping out on the lounge, watching movies. It was winter time, so we had the fire going, and yeah, it was just a really like bad flu. But the smell loss and the sort of brain fog and the fatigue, just really lingered and lingered. So that was winter of 2024. And then kind of managed to like pick myself up and carry on with work. And then in terms of work, we landed like a really stressful project. I'm a furniture maker, so yeah, we landed a project with someone, and it was just the spec was difficult, the color was difficult, the logistically it was difficult. The design was challenging, and I physically was not at my peak strength. So I think that then played quite a big part in the next part of my symptoms. So that was towards the end of 2024, and I started developing like pain in my pelvis. So I'd had this once before in my life. It was also, looking back, like a very stressful project that we had going on. But yeah, anyways, I started developing pain in my lower pelvis. So of course you jump onto Google, and it's like, oh man, the fear was there. It's like cancer, lymphoma, like, anyways, the fear and anxiety was like crazy. And yeah, so I saw a few doctors, and they checked it out, and they suggested I go for scans, which I never did, because they just said it feels like it's a muscular tear and it'll heal over time, whatever. But fast forward then to the end of the year, obviously very stressful. It's like December, January is not a good time for us. No one wants to order furniture. Everyone wants to go on holiday. But we still have to pay all our staff, bonuses, rental. So yeah, it's a challenging time. And of course, all the staff want to just go home, everyone's tired. So yeah, we shut down. And I remember we owed the municipality like a small amount of money. I think it was like 2.5 or 3,000 rand, and they cut off our water. So not like a huge financial deal, but it like, on top of everything, it felt like the end of the world. So I was like, oh no, screw that. So I went out, and I bought water tanks and pipes, and I bought cable, and I bought all sorts of like drainage stuff, and I was like, we collecting rainwater, screw these guys. So that was then my next mission. We just shut down work, put in these water tanks, and it was, looking back, it was like stressful. And Just to backtrack from that, just before shutdown, so this was like early December. I'm a Christian, and I've got a faith, and yeah, I believe God told me to do a 40-day fast. So yeah, I was kind of not eating for 2 days, and then I'd have a few vegetables, and I believe that He did tell me to do that. So I was quite weak. I was quite stressed. I was like into this new project of collecting rainwater. And then like I'd sort of just finished installing the tanks, and the water stuff was looking really good. And man, I was like, I just had this urge to pee. I was like, I had to just like pee every like half an hour. And then like when I'd pee, my pee was like burning. We all adults here, so anyways, yeah, it's funny to talk about your pee and post it online. But anyways, it's so I this was like like sort of 20th of December, and I was like, oh my gosh, jump onto Google. I was like, oh my word, prostate cancer, my prostate's inflamed. Panic, anxiety, what am I gonna do? And yeah, I teach a little kids jiu-jitsu class, and one of the guys, one of the kids that I teach, his dad is a urologist. So I messaged him, and he very graciously agreed to see me. And I was very lucky to have gotten with him. But he checked me out, did some scans, felt around, which was quite a shock. But he basically just said like he can't see anything that's like majorly wrong. Protein in the urine is slightly elevated, but like there's no big deal. So he gave me a strong course of antibiotics and some anti-inflammatories. So I did that course over December, and like no change. Oh yeah, he also said like you need to make sure you drink loads of water. So it was this crazy thing of like drink, and then pee. So like and then like anxiety on top of all of this. So like I was in a very bad state. So like pain in my pelvis, urinary frequency, visual snow symptoms, ringing in my ears, smell loss, and then like just general fatigue and brain fog. So just extremely anxious, and like Dr. Google was just there all the time. I was constantly Googling and looking for things, and the more I Googled, the more scared I got. I was like, oh my goodness, pudendal neuralgia, cancer. So that was a bad time. And then fast forward, I finished my 40-day fast on the 1st of January. And I was like, it was a disappointment. I was like, so like now what, God? Like typically after 40 days of fasting, there's supposed to be like spiritual breakthrough, or it's quite a significant number. So 2nd of January comes around, and I've got these like symptoms. I've got everything I've just described: visual snow, tinnitus in my ears, still can't smell, got brain fog, still peeing every 45 minutes or so. And then on the 4th day, on the 4th of January, I was just on Dr. Google, And I stumbled across a guy on YouTube. He was originally from Zimbabwe, and he had something cool he calls CPPS, chronic pelvic pain syndrome. And within like an hour of watching his content, I was like, this is what I've got. Chronic pelvic pain syndrome. And basically, after watching his stuff for, a couple hours, I was like, there's an umbrella term for what I have, and it's called TMS, tension myositis syndrome, or some guys call it just mind body syndrome. There's a guy on YouTube called Dan. His channel's called Pain Free You, and he calls it PDP, perceived danger pain. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I've got. Like, I've found this is the umbrella term for all the symptoms I'm experiencing. So, crazy story. I like, with the fasting, and I'd been intermittent fasting for a couple years, so I know how neuroplastic the brain is, and how the body can adapt to not eating. When you first start intermittent fasting, you like 11 a.m. comes around and you're like, oh my word, if I don't eat right now, I'm gonna die. And then by the end of it, you can get to 6 p.m. at night, and it's like nothing. You don't even feel hungry. So I knew that, like, if I tell my body, like, the urinary symptoms were particularly bothersome. So I knew, like, oh my goodness, I can totally retrain my brain not to have to pee every 30 minutes. So I cut back on drinking like so much water, and I was like, right, I'm gonna time myself. I jumped onto ChatGPT and I googled, like, what's the timeline for people, like how many times a day does the average man like go to the toilet? And it worked out to be about 3.5 hours. So I set the time on my phone, and oh my word, that was hard. I'd arrive at work after having just gone to the loo an hour before, and my body was screaming. It was like, you need to go, you need to relieve yourself. And I was like, nope, set the timer. We only go to the loo every 3.5 hours. And within, I'd say, 2 days of doing that, I was like almost, I was 90% back to normal. And I was like, oh my goodness, like that's what I have. I've got mind body syndrome. So that was the first sort of like glimmer of hope. That was the first time that I had actually experienced some breakthrough. Before that, it was every week there was like a new thing. It was like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling dizzy. Oh my goodness, I've got this new fatigue symptom. But after doing that, it was like the first time that I actually had like a bit of positive relief. So I'm going to end the video there. But basically, since finding out that I have this TMS, mind-body syndrome, I've been able to work on it. And the root of it is that you have this perceived danger in your subconscious. You've got, and more specifically, you living in fear. And if you asked me at the time, like, are you scared? I'd be like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I've gone through this like tough time and whatever, but I'm not scared. But after unpacking that a little bit more deeply, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in such fear for my other two kids. Like, what if something happens to my other two kids? Then like my world would end. What if we don't make payroll in business this week? And then there's all the like perfectionistic tendencies. Like, each piece of furniture has got to be perfect. There's things like catastrophizing that are like really common with people who have TMS, like worst case scenario thinking. So yeah, like I'm sort of, it's mid-March now, 2025, and man, I'm doing so much better. The tinnitus and the visual snow are still present, but I'm working on those by just doing like mindfulness and somatic tracking, and allowing some of my less pleasant emotions just to be present, not suppressing emotions. And yeah, it's weird stuff, but when you've gone to all the doctors and you've been through all that fear with googling symptoms and stuff, and you land on this and it works, it's incredible. So yeah, just wanted to encourage anyone else out there going through things like chronic fatigue syndrome, migraine headaches. Sorry, that's something else I forgot to mention. Like I suffered with chronic migraines, which you can definitely lump in this umbrella of mind-body syndrome. And one of the sort of like hallmarks of people who have TMS is that they've gone to doctors with various symptoms, and the doctors usually have two things to say. Number one, we don't know what causes what you have, and number two, we don't have a solution. And that, like, that's so appropriate for what I'm going through, and for many people with things like chronic fatigue syndrome. But yeah, flip, man, just wanted to put some hope out there, and encourage anyone that's experiencing stuff like this. Like, you can heal, you will heal. I'm healing, and I know I'm just going to get better and better. So yeah, thanks for listening, and have a good day.